The copywriter's job is very simply to put brand aura into an idea and bring the best of the brand that it can offer.
Understanding the nuances of the brand.
It's a funny joke that copywriters, they need to have an imposter syndrome. When you know where your enemy is or how big your enemy or how small your enemy is, that's when you start making strategy how to get to them. Same thing applies here in the marketing field as well. When you know who you are going after, that's when you start forming ways to get to them. Because people hate advertising. People pay a premium to avoid us. It's absolutely necessary to be interesting. It's absolutely necessary to be charming. Experiential advertising is an advertising where you get the audience to experience a brand. What is the one good enemy of film industry or film? Piracy is the enemy of any film production house or any film in India.
And it's a big problem.
Who uploads pirated version of films? It's the people. That gave me an idea. What if we could do a surgical strike on piracy? Vicky Kaushal, who's the main protagonist, he wakes up, he breaks the fourth wall. He says that this is not the real film. This is exactly how we enter the enemy territory without them knowing.
For our audience, if you could explain what a brand is.
Basically an aura. You can't touch, you can't feel a brand.
Like Nike has taken a very, very long time to actually build the brand.
Nike's journey is exceptional.
What are the different ways that one can start building a personal brand?
They need to create an aura about themselves, like how they need to be perceived among their audience. This is a way I behave on social. This is the way I talk. This is the way I look. For example, the spiritual leaders like Sadhguru is a beautiful example of how personal branding works.
Sandipan is a copywriter and the youngest creative director in our country, who has many brilliant and internationally award-winning ideas and campaigns under his belt, which includes awards like Cannes Lions, One Show, DNAD, FS, Promax, and many more. Apart from being a creative director, he loves speaking about creativity and creative opportunities in colleges and podcasts. So let's get him on the mic. Thank you, Sandipan, for coming down to A Dialogue with Sukrit. It's great to have you after so many years.
My pleasure.
We were in the same batch, in the same college, doing the same course.
It's been how many years? Like 10 years now?
Yeah, maybe. 2017 we passed out, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
But we
2016.
but we met around 2013.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. Yeah, so
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Amazing to be back talking to you after so long. Yeah.
You have been working in ad agency for the past 8 years now. So my first question would be, you have been working as a copywriter.
Yeah, I've joined as a copywriter. Now I'm a creative director.
Okay. So what is the major role of a copywriter?
Copywriting is a creative work, or it falls under a creative genre. And any ad agency that you walk into can't function without a creative team, right? So in a creative team, there is an art director and there's a copywriter. Just to explain you in a way that you like can comprehend, everyone can comprehend. A copywriter is the creative guy who comes up with the idea. What is the idea? The idea to sell a product or say a message from a brand point of view, right? Copywriter is the one who comes up with the idea, who comes up with a thought.
So idea for ad?
Idea for an ad, idea for a brand video, idea for a print ad,
Campaign,
idea for a social post, idea for notifications, so the creative writing that takes place is taken care by the copywriter.
Okay.
The creative design and the visual that comes along with your idea, whether it's a film, whether it's a print, whether it's a social media post, is taken care by an art director.
Okay.
And a creative team is basically a mix of both, where you have an art director, and you have a copywriter joining the team as a duo.
So how does your work affect the advertisements that you produce from your agency?
Starting from my career, I've been a copywriter myself. So like the work that I've done or the projects that I've gotten involved into, I have been the creative person who came up with the insight and came up with the idea. And then further develop that idea into an ad campaign, whether it's a film, whether it's a print, outdoor, social media, digital activation, whatever the nature of the work demanded or nature of the brand, objective demanded. So yeah, that's been my work. It's almost like how a film is made, right? There's a writer, there's a thinker who comes up with an idea of a storyline, right? That's how the story is being made. Dialogues are written, the plot twists are brought to the table, right? Uh, Similarly, a copywriter's job is just that. Whenever he conceives or she conceives an idea, it's their job to come up with the execution of the idea to manifest the idea in its purest form, and obviously understand what the brand offers, understand how a brand function, whether this brand is a service brand or a product brand, whether this brand is a very masculine brand or a feminine brand, right? Whether this brand is a challenger brand or a very timid brand. So vibing all the auras of the brand, the copywriter's job is very simply to put the brand aura into an idea and bring the best of the brand that it can offer.
So also understanding the nuances of the brand.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
executing it into the script.
Absolutely. Sometimes like it's a funny joke that copywriters, when they work, they need to have an imposter syndrome, because you can't be like just one, because you need to adapt the thinking, psychology, and the aura of the brand. So for example, if you're a toothpaste brand, you will speak differently versus if you're a cola brand or if you're in health insurance, right? Your tone will change, your ideas will change, your target audience is going to drastically change, right? So you have to understand all of these things together and produce work that appeals to the mass. Come up with ideas that catches attention.
So what is an idea?
Idea is basically a solution. Let's take like one step back and just understand what is an idea altogether. For example, you get into a problem, right? And you start, the moment you realize that I have fallen into a problem, you start thinking, what are the possible ways I can solve it? What you are essentially doing is you are generating ideas. Right. Similarly, like creative idea is basically when you have to express something, when you have to communicate something. There are 10 different ways to communicate. I can simply tell you ki, hey dude, this is a very cool product, buy it. Very blatantly putting out there, right? Might be very boring to you, and you'll be like, why are you being so pushy? I don't want to buy this product, but you are being very pushy to me, right? Now what I do is that I come up with an idea that I directly attract you to follow me, or directly attract you to ask me, hey, this product is so cool, right? When I do that, I'm already getting you as my consumer. I'm already halfway through your heart. I just need to push the button and just get you convinced, right? So that's how an idea works. Very simply put, idea is something where you think of a creative way to get your audience to do exactly what you want them to do. Whether you want them to buy a product, want them to watch this film and love it, want them to listen to your song, want them to subscribe to your service. That's how an advertising idea functions.
So say I am a shoe brand and I come to you and now you need to create an ad for me. So what is the process for you to get an idea for an ad film for me?
There are a lot of steps before you jump into the shooting floor and start shooting for a commercial, right? The first thing is that we need to understand, why do you need to create an ad? What makes you think that you need a film? You need a film for a shoe brand, right? We also need to understand where you stand as a brand. I'm sure there are so many other footwear brands in the market already. What makes you different? What is your brand aura? What is you as a brand? Are you a very hoity-toity brand which is absolutely premium brand, or you are like a brand which is talking to the mass, which is like something that everyone wants to get into, get their feet into, and they want to walk with you, right? Also, like, you need to understand where your brand is positioned in the market. Is it seen like a brand which is very aspirational, or is it like a brand which is seen as something like a common buddy, right? Like your daily footwear brand, right? Once you establish that, once you know about it, once you have enough evidence and enough logic and data backing you that, yeah, this is where I stand in the market, this is where I position myself. After that, strategy is built. Strategy is like basically There are so many people in the market, right? There are so many competitive brands in the market. How do I get my audience? How do I break the clutter? How do I reach the mass and get attention towards me? That's where you start thinking, what can be my creative strategy? Okay, where do I tap into? What consumer behavior I should tap, so that people should listen to me, or at least come to my store to see my products.
So is also understanding the target audience part of the building the strategy?
Absolutely. Without understanding audience, you can't perform.
No. So does this step come into the strategy part, or?
Yes, absolutely. Understanding your audience is a part of strategy building. Absolutely. Without knowing your target audience, you can't build strategy, because like strategy, the word strategy comes from war, right? When you know where your enemy is, or how big your enemy or how small your enemy is, that's when you start making strategy how to get to them. Same thing applies here in the marketing field as well. When you know who you are going after, you know their behavior, you know their timings, you know what they like, what they dislike, that's when you start forming ways to get to them. That's what strategy is all about. So this is how strategy takes place. Once the strategy is in, that's when you start thinking on insights.
What are insights?
Insights are basically observations. Observations that you can use to create relevancy with your idea.
Okay.
Right? Very simply put, when you see a song, when you see a film, and there's a beautiful scene, and you feel after watching that film or watching that scene, you feel like, oh, this is so me. Right? This is exactly what happens in my house. That's a beautiful insight that the directors or the writers have got into, right?
And observed from their lives.
They have observed from your life, from our life, from common people life. And then they have just reciprocated that on the screen, right? And it immediately created a connection between you and the product or the film, right? That is built on insight. Similarly, that's the same thing that we do in advertising as well. We try to dig very hard and very deep, finding good insights that we can, catch on to. Once we have a very strong insight, that makes our job very easy. The next thing that we need to do is we need to package it in a creative form and bring it to you in a way that it is more appealing to you. It immediately gets your attention. Since, like you mentioned, that you are a footwear brand, right? Imagine that you have a special sale. Okay, and you have 20% off or 30% off on your footwear, or you have a very cool product which is launching in the market for the first time. You have a very cool technology or very amazing technology for your sole. Now that's a product development, right? You want to communicate this to your audience, want to get them excited to come to your store, check out these products and buy them. That's your objective. That's your mission. According to that mission, you have formed the strategy. Based on that strategy, you have formed an insight. After the insight, now you will start thinking on ideas. Like, how do I bring all my strategy, my insight into a creative idea and tell it to my audience? Now you may ask, why do I need a creative idea when I have so much of strategy and insight made? Why can't I say it directly? People have tried that a lot. People have tried that in the past. There are advertising campaigns where they don't need a creative idea. They just come on the screen and tell that, yeah, this is the footwear, this is the technology, just buy it. People don't buy it because people hate advertising. This is the curse of the industry, you can say it. People pay a premium to avoid us. You pay a premium on YouTube to avoid ads. You pay a premium on Spotify to avoid us, right? It's absolutely necessary to be interesting. It's absolutely necessary to be charming in order to be more something which is very appealing to the audience, something that people would want to watch. There's a saying in advertising that great ads don't behave like ads. Great ideas don't behave like they're an advertising ideas. That's how the entire campaign is broken into pieces. Each department play their roles very diligently. And once the strategy, once the insight, once the creative idea is formed, then what we do is we present the idea to the client. Once we have a very strong sense that the client has approved the idea or client is absolutely vibing with the idea, That's when we start approaching production houses, or we self-produce it. A lot of agencies self-produce their ideas. A lot of agencies prefer putting the work out and outsourcing production house. Then the production house come, and then we have the same discussion with them. We give the onus of producing the film to them from a technicality point of view. And then an ad film is produced.
So it's a very long process to get to the idea to actually get executed.
It's not a long process. This entire process can take place in a time of a day also.
Long process, what I mean is by, there are different segments, there are different people who are working on different segments.
Yes.
And then the final idea is put forward.
Absolutely. Like, think it this way. It's like a cricket team. There is a wicket keeper who does his own job. There is a bowler who does his own job. There is a batsman who does his own job. There is a coach. There is a physio also in the team. And when everyone is in sync and everyone is doing their jobs great, that's when the team wins, right? Same thing applies in advertising. Everyone has their own jobs to do. And when they do it great, when the connection, when the sync is nice, great things come out.
How relevant is ad agency nowadays? Because there are so many brands that directly go to content creators,
Correct.
Influencers,
Correct.
and they make the videos in much cheaper budgets than that they have to pay to an ad agency. They have to pay a premium most of the times.
Yeah.
So do you think that ad agencies are still relevant?
Ad agency is still relevant. Ad agencies are going to be relevant in the days coming up. Why so? Also, I want to correct you one thing. Going to an influencer, it's not economically cheaper than going to an ad agency, or because it depends. Like, influencer is a huge word. You can use Amitabh Bachchan as influencer also.
True.
Right? But he would charge you crores
Right.
for a brand deal. You can use Virat Kohli as an influencer also, and you can use someone who has just 10,000 followers as an influencer. But the range varies, right? Going to a Virat Kohli kind of an influencer and doing a brand deal with him costs you 10 times more than a campaign.
True.
Okay, so taking 2 steps back, we were discussing about whether advertising agencies are relevant in these days or not. Advertising agencies are going to be relevant, and they are still relevant because advertising agency, they don't just offer one creative idea or a campaign to the client. They are like the main people who are looking after the entire marketing of the brand. Like I said, influencer won't get you strategy. Influencer won't get you data-driven insights. Influencer might do a video for you, but they won't put out the outdoor in the national highway, right? They won't do the radio ads. They won't do the social media for you. So there are a lot of, like, marketing is a, like, how we have a term in the industry called 360-degree marketing.
Okay.
Which is basically when you want to communicate, you communicate in such a way that everywhere you go, whether you are on your phone, whether you are driving on the highway, whether you are watching a movie in the theaters, whether you are watching a video on YouTube, or you are just reading a newspaper, you will see our ad, you will see our communication there. Everywhere, right? That's why it is called a 360 marketing. When you go to an influencer, you are only looking at one channel,
Right.
which is social media, right? Or maybe max to max of film, right? So yeah, advertising agency equip a brand with a lot of other avenues to market, and I don't think that is going to go out of fashion anytime sooner. Now the point is, advertising is evolving as we speak. There was a time when we just used to assume that advertising is all about at a print ad that you find in your magazine or in your newspaper, right? Then the time came when we started thinking advertising is all about radio ads, then television ads. Then YouTube came, the internet revolution happened. Then what we observe is social post, right? But advertising is evolving. Now advertising is getting into experiential advertising. There are a lot of activations happening. Innovations are happening, right?
What is experiential advertising?
Before we get into understanding what is experiential advertising, what is the non-experiential advertising? Like, when you see a video, it's just like a one-way communication, right? You see an ad on TV, you laugh, you recall the brand, you enjoy the entire film, and you go to the market and you ask for the same product, right? The ideal world scenario, right? Then the internet revolution happened. Then it became a two-way. You put out an ad, now you can comment, you can like, dislike, you can share. So advertisers started knowing whether our communication is getting communicated the way we want it or not. So it became a two-way thing. Experiential advertising is an advertising where you get the audience to experience a brand
Okay.
or feel what it offers to you.
How?
Events. When you go to a mall, you see mall activations happening. They invite you to experience something, right? They take you to different zones, right? These are all a part of experiential marketing. Like all your rock concerts, all your concerts, your Lollapalooza, your events are a part of experiential marketing.
But then we were speaking about experimental advertising.
Yes.
Is it the same? Experiential marketing and advertising?
It's not same, but I mean it's a part of that major term. Like for example, all your like one campaign that I have done myself, where I have basically created a fake film and have put on a torrent website because we were talking about a surgical strike. If you look at the idea, the construct of idea doesn't follow any of the format of advertising. It's neither a print ad, it's neither a outdoor ad, it's neither a television commercial nor a video. But the entire video lies inside a torrent, which is like a piracy website, right? Now, people who fell into the trap, they experience the scam, right?
Could you elaborate on the ads that you created or the campaign that you created?
Absolutely. It's a funny story actually. So while I was working in an agency in Bombay, this is 2018. There was this film which was releasing called Uri, Surgical Strike, right? The Vicky Kaushal one. And I was on leave. When the brief came, I was on leave. I was in my hometown, and 14 days or 15 days later, I went back and rejoined my office. And usually what happens is that whenever you come back after a vacation, you start catching up with your friends and colleagues. Like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? And stuff like that. So I started catching up with my friends and colleagues. And that's when one of the colleagues told me that he has a very interesting project. It's a film brief. And usually in advertising agency back then, we never used to get a film production house brief. Film brief as in like, obviously we make films on brands, but no brand has brought to you a product which is a film, right? Film as in like market this
feature film.
Yeah. So it was something very new to us anyway. So we were quite excited. I started regretting that I have taken leave in the wrong time, that I missed out on this brief. Anyway, I think something was written in my fate as well. So the team who was working on this brief, they got a chance to watch the film uncut version, because in order to market this film, they asked the group to come and see the film, because unless you don't know the product, how are you going to sell it? Right. So they had a screening where they saw the film and they started making strategies. They started making insights and everything. The brief is basically what is the mission,
that comes from the brand itself.
Absolutely. The brief was very clear that for this film, the marketing needs to be different. Different as in, usually what happens whenever you see a feature film coming, you'll see actors and actresses going to any television show or doing mall appearances, going to talk shows like Kapil Sharma show and stuff like that, and just showing their faces and just talking about ki hamari film aa rahi hai, do watch it. That's how the marketing of a film happens. It's still continuing these days also. But the production house, but the makers of the film, they wanted it to be different. They wanted us to do different kind of advertising or promotion of the film. Hence, they approached a creative agency rather than going to a normal film marketing agencies. That's how it started. So I missed the bus. I was regretting that, oh shit, I have taken leave on the wrong time and I can't join this group. I always wanted to work something which has to do something with military, because like my childhood, like I've been brought up in army cantonments. I have seen the drills. I have gone to army schools. I always wanted to do something like for them. But I thought this is a chance missed. Maybe there'll be another chance. So what happened after that is that I got to know about the brief while talking to my colleagues, and they told me this is the brief, this is the film all about. It's about celebrating surgical strike. And what surgical strike? I mean, of course everyone knows now. Now the strategy team sat together. The strategy was formed that the entire movie was celebrating that this is a new India. It's a renewed India. It's with a renewed energy. It doesn't know to play only defense. It also knows to strike back, right? So that's how the strategy was formed, that we will strike back. It's a new India. We will give people an experience with surgical strike. What if the film of surgical strike can actually give people an experience of surgical strike? That was the strategy. I continued working on some other brand which has no relationship with the film, which has no relationship with the idea or nothing to do with the film. It was a separate brand, a traditional brand that I was working on. While working on it, I had an insight. A very simple question in my head, which was, if this is a film about surgical strike on enemy's territory, right? What is the one good enemy of film industry or film? That's when something struck me back, and it was like the piracy world. Piracy is the enemy of any film production house or any film in India.
And it's a big problem,
Major problem, right? Major problem, right? Obviously, I got excited. Now, what to do with this insight? So I started thinking, like, what can we do? Can we do this? Can we do that? That's when I started researching a bit, like who uploads pirated version of films on piracy driven websites, right? It's the people. They take out their cameras, they screen record the entire theater experience, and they put it on the thing. And there's no there's no gatekeeping for you to, it's a user generated software. Anyone can do it, and anyone can stream screens and stream videos on torrent. That gave me an idea, like, what if we could do a surgical strike on piracy? Now, after conceiving this idea, I just went to one of my colleagues from whom I have heard this. I told him about this idea, and I told him that this is what I think we should do. He got excited. Good that he went into the meeting room, and usually people try to take your credit, try to package it, the idea, in a way that it becomes theirs rather than mine. But this guy didn't do that. He went to the meeting, he presented the idea himself, but he said that this guy has an idea, he told me that. Immediately the head of all the creative directors storm out of the room. They got me inside, and they started asking me, what did you just say? And I told them that this is the idea. And the next thing is something that I couldn't realize myself. I was working on the project.
So what was the idea?
The idea was very simple. The idea was very simple, is exactly what the strategy asked us to do, which is giving people an experience of surgical strike. What we did, we shot a fake film with the same actors, Vicky Kaushal, Yami Gautam and all. We created a fake certificate, fake opening of the film, somewhere around 2 minutes long. And in between that film, we started pretending that's the original film. Okay. And immediately somewhere in between, Vicky Kaushal, who's the main protagonist, he wakes up, he gets up from the table, and he breaks the fourth wall, and he starts speaking to the audience. And he says that this is not the real film. You have been scammed. This is exactly how we enter the enemy territory without them knowing. Just how we have entered your screen and you didn't even realize. So don't waste your time watching this fake film. Go to the theaters, watch the film real.
This is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, this exactly what the strategy asked us, right? So we did that. We shot the film with the same actors. Then we uploaded the film on torrent. We let it, stream overnight, 2 days, 3 days, continuously so that more and more websites
download.
Yeah. And then we waited silently. We didn't, budge anything. I think after the fourth day or fifth day, somewhere in some state, I don't remember which state, somewhere downloaded and he got scammed because it was a fake film. And he took a screenshot and he went to Twitter and he started bombarding. He started abusing the maker. He started fooling, started abusing that why he has been fooled. That's when it became viral. People started commenting, people started checking out, people started downloading the film, and they all started talking about, hey, I also got fooled, but I was ashamed to talk about it. That's when it spread like a wildfire, and it went to a limit where the government of India started taking notice of it. Even in one of the speeches, Narendra Modi also mentioned about anti-piracy law right after this campaign. And I think there was one tweet from some minister who saw this news and he also reacted it. So that's how it blew into a massive movement.
So is this also part of experiential advertising?
Absolutely. This explains what experiential advertising. You have the person who got involved, he experienced a surgical strike.
Right.
This is what the movie was all about, right?
This is brilliant. So moving on, we were speaking about brands, right? So if for our audience, if you could explain what a brand is.
A brand is basically an aura. You can't touch, you can't feel a brand. What you can touch and feel is a product. Say an Apple phone. Phone is a product of the brand. iPad is a product of the brand, right? The other products are just like the products of the brand, right? You can touch the product, but you can't touch the brand. It's intangible. It's an aura that it brings along, right? How we say, when you see someone carrying an iPhone, you have a different perception about that person.
Right.
Versus when you see someone carrying an OnePlus, you have a different perception about that person. I'll tell you about the person also. Like when we see someone holding an iPhone, we see him like someone who has arrived in life, who's doing great economically, financially, is established. He has a point of opinion about everything, right? Versus when we see someone holding a OnePlus, we see him like a challenger, a tech guy who is very hands-on with tech, who is very smart, right? Versus someone we see with a Vivo, we see him like another challenger who's aspirational, who's like a hardworking person. He wants everything, but he doesn't have the money to buy an Apple iPhone, but he's still not letting it go. He's not compromising on other aspects, right? Who taught us these things? Who fed us with these perception? No one, right? This is all brand building. The brands have been constantly building this aura in our head that, if you are carrying this particular product, this is the aura that comes along with you.
So it's basically a perception that is built in our mind for a particular product.
Absolutely.
For a long period of time.
Absolutely. That's why it is called brand building doesn't happen overnight.
So
right?
how long does it take for a brand to actually build a proper brand identity, as say?
I mean, there is no timeline as such that, you will need 2 months to do that.
Say, me starting off with a shoe brand, if I want to build an identity in minds of my consumers, so how do I go about it, and how much time would it take?
For example, if you are starting to build a shoe brand, like you said, the first thing that you need to understand, who are you? As in, like, what is the aura? What is the perception that you want to create in your target?
For example, if you could give us an example.
You want to be a sneaker brand. You want to be a canvas brand. You want to be a flip-flops or Vans or other kind of shoe brands. You want to be a sports shoe brand. This is more of a segmentation based on product. Now you want to be premium brand, like very premium, where you want to be associated with celebrities or a lifestyle more than anything else. Or you want to be a comfort first brand, right? So these things you need to decide. Based on these things, your entire branding exercise will fall.
Okay.
For example, your identity, your colors. People will recognize you with your colors. The moment today when we close our eyes or we just like we drive past a store and we see a red can, immediately we know it's a Coca-Cola can, right? When we drive past a store and we see a blue can, we know it's a Pepsi brand. It's a Pepsi can.
In fact, their films, the Coca-Cola brand films also have a distinct look. Like
Absolutely.
whenever we see that look, then we can associate, oh, this is a Coca-Cola brand.
Even in fact, Netflix, any show that appears on Netflix versus any show that appears on Amazon Prime, the color grading of the shows are very differently made, right? You know what is a Netflix show and what is a Amazon Prime show. So these are all part of branding, right?
Okay.
So just to make your journey of a shoe brand, the first thing that you need to identify is your, like, what do you do and who you are. The moment you start answering those questions, the next step for you is to also understand what is the association that my target audience would form with me. How do I want my people, my target audience, to feel when they hold me, when they touch me, when they wear me? Do I see them as someone who's like a cool kid, or do I want them to be seen as someone who's like a very affluent, someone who has arrived in life? That creates an aura for you.
So basically, depending on all the information that I want to put out, the entire strategy and messaging of the brand is put out, which in fact helps the brand to grow, brand image or an identity to grow, right?
Yeah. Now, coming back to time that you said, how much time does it take for you to form? There is no science, or there is no, like, no one can put a number to it. Like no one can tell you, okay, it will take you 7 months to make a brand, or it will take, like, obviously your brand starts its journey from the day one. You have to repeatedly hammer your brand aura, your brand identity, your branding to your audience so that there is recall. Without the recall, there is no brand. Because like I said, it's an intangible thing, right? You can't touch. You have to remember, constantly remember. You have to feel the brand. There are brands who have successfully grown and created a brand about themselves in few months also, by doing exceptional creative campaigns, exceptional brand building. And then there are brands who are very iconic, very age old, like 100 years old, but still they are doing branding.
Like Nike has taken a very, very long time to actually build the brand, and it's still adding on to the brand building,
True.
you know?
True. It's still continuing. It's changing, evolving with the time. But yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting story that you pointed out. Nike's journey is exceptional. One must know how the brand has became a big brand that we know of today, right? It started very simply. It's like, something like all footwear brands start. They reached out to an agency called Wyden Kennedy, which was also their first client. So the brand was very new. The agency was very new. It was like a match made in heaven. From the swoosh that we see, that is called swoosh, the logo, the font, the colors, the aura that you have when you wear Nike is something which is not built overnight. It took years. It took a lot of campaigns to overemphasize on one idea, which is you wear Nike and you just don't think second time. You just do it.
So this perception that we have for Nike is actually the brand building that we are speaking about.
Absolutely.
So how is personal branding different from branding a traditional brand that we associate with, just like Nike that we are speaking about? Could you just explain the difference?
Personal branding is a part of branding. So brand building is basically done for a company, for a brand, for a product, or the manufacturer of the product. Like, for example, the Nike, that example that you took. Nike makes great shoes. Nike makes great products, right? But the brand is Nike, and that has been built over years, right? Personal branding is different, although it's a part of branding. When human being start treating himself or herself as a brand and does all the branding exercise that one does on a particular brand, as in like Nike or Colgate or Coca-Cola, that's what personal branding is. When you start treating yourself as a brand. Personal branding is not new. It's something that we have categorized it, or we have coined a name for it. But if you remember Like, I'm sure there must be a relative in your house, in your family, that you're absolutely fond of. You remember, like, you must have some people in your family who you recall as that uncle who does this, that uncle who has a hair like this, has a way of talking like this, he has an aura, everyone in the street knows him, right? That is personal branding. He branded himself in such a way that he created an aura, and now people recall him this way. That's personal branding. Now, for example, in today's time, a lot of good personal branding has happened. Like, for example, the spiritual leaders like Sadhguru is a beautiful example of how personal branding works. When you see someone wearing a dress like that, you know it's Sadhguru walking up. He has a different way of talking, right? When you hear a sound, when you hear a hashtag or see a hashtag which says save the soil, you immediately know that it's Sadhguru, right? So that is personal branding. Shah Rukh Khan, all the celebrities have their different aura, right? How people term it, this is a very Shah Rukh Khan way of doing things. This is a very Shah Rukh Khan way of living a life. What is that? That's personal branding. So basically, simply put, when a person start behaving like a brand and does all the branding exercise in order to create an aura for himself, in order to get leads, in order to get business, in order to make money, or in general to get famous, these all things are a part of personal branding. You will see a lot of LinkedIn posts. Like, LinkedIn is the platform where you will see a lot of personal branding happening every day. People who are like the top management, who are the top leadership, position. They are becoming mentors. They are becoming thought leaders, right? They are doing enough personal branding in order to become a renowned voice in the network, person to follow. That's like, for example, Ratan Tata or the entire Tata family. They are an inspiration to so many. They're a legacy brand, right? They have done their personal branding so well that you have certain associations with them.
So if someone wants to start a personal brand to sell any kind of a product or for any other reason, what are the different ways that one can start building a personal brand?
Amazing question. I think the first thing that I would ask you back is the person starting the business on his own name? Or he's an entrepreneur, but he has a brand which has a different name.
So maybe he's starting off on his own, on his name itself.
Great. Okay, so I'll give you a funny anecdote also. So there was one video I was watching a couple of days ago. It was like a red carpet show, okay, and journalists were there, and there were a lot of celebrities, okay, and journalists, how they ask, what are you wearing? Okay. So they started asking a lot of celebrities. Funnily, when Hrithik Roshan was asked, what are you wearing? So he very comically said, ise kapde kehte hain. I'm wearing kapde. But just to give you an idea, well, others were asked the same question. They were saying, I'm wearing Manish Malhotra. I'm wearing Sabyasachi. I'm wearing Anupama Khanna. I'm wearing this and that. These are all brands, but made on the name of individuals, right? Exactly what I asked you, right? So in order to make a personal brand, the first thing that you need to understand whether you want to be known for yourself or you want to be known for your service or your product. When we see a lot of Javed Habib salons, right? That person has built a brand on his own name and skill. It's not about the service. It's not about the haircut that you get into. When you go into this salon, right? It's the name, it's the assurance that, oh, I'm having a haircut from Javed Habib. It's a premium salon. In order to answer your question, like what should someone do when they're making a personal brand based on their name? They need to understand, again, it's the same principle applies, who they are, what they want to be seen as. Okay. If it's a personal brand based on name, they need to create an aura about themselves, like how they need to be perceived among their audience. Once that is done, they need to create their style. Style as in, this is a way I behave on social. This is the way I talk. This is the way I look. This is the way I write. This is the way I sound. All these things create a personal aura of yours.
So, what are the mediums through which one can create all these?
Social media is there, word of mouth, majorly experience from product and services, right? When someone, you are dealing with customers, you are giving them a service or a product. When you're doing that, ensure that your brand is communicated to them very well. Whatever your brand values are, whatever your aura is, if it's a premium brand, you need to give a premium experience to your audience. When that is felt by the audience, they'll go to 10 different people and talk about you. That will establish more they'll establish more goodwill about you, more generate great imagery for you. That's brand building. Even though it's it's a very slow process, but it's brand building, absolutely. Coming back to the question again that you asked, like how should someone start building a personal brand on their own name? Understand who you are, understand what you offer, understand what is the greatness in your product.
And what makes me unique and sets me apart from the crowd?
There is Manish Malhotra, there is Sabyasachi, but they are very, very, very different from each other, right? There are films by Anurag Kashyap, there are films by Satyajit Ray, there are films by Vidhu Vinod Chopra, or Raju Hirani as well. All of them speak very differently. All of them have a different aura, right? You can just, without even knowing or reading the credit, you know what is a Vidhu Vinod Chopra's film, what is a Raju Hirani's film, what is a Satyajit Ray's film, and what is an Anurag Kashyap film, right? They all created a brand for themselves. They did it with their own way of storytelling. They did it with their own way of dialogues, cinematography, sound, storyline, using the same element that is available to all other filmmakers. They didn't do anything extraordinary, right? They have used the same set of things that are available to make a film, right?
But it's just the choices that they've made.
Taste.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about having great taste makes you a great creative. There's a beautiful person, I would recommend everyone to listen to this person talk, Rick Rubin. He is like the sound recordist for a lot of iconic rock metal bands. And he talks greatly about having a great taste. Taste as in not the taste for food.
Taste for everything.
Even if you are choosing a book, the kind of books that you are picking up shows a lot about your taste in literature. Even if you are listening to a series of songs, the kind of songs that you are picking up talks greatly about your choice of music, right? So I think brand needs to have a great taste, even if it's all about setting out a very simple message to the audience. Having great taste creates a great brand. That's the reason why we love films by Apple when they come, because they have a great taste of entire film. They have a great way of showing product, great way of showing stories, how the product actually enables you with so much, right? It's all taste.
So my next question would be, if I am starting out, I want to build a shoe brand. As you said, I want to build another brand, which is a saloon maybe, the example that you were giving out. So should I focus on my personal branding and then venture out into different products that benefits the products indirectly? Or should I focus on branding those individual products that I'm about to sell?
I mean, you should only do personal branding driven brand once you are absolutely famous and established, when there is enough credibility, when you know and you are absolutely confident about the fact that things will sell on my name. There are so many examples. Tomorrow, if Mahendra Singh Dhoni comes out with a sporting brand, right? He is MSD, he is Mahi, right? People will go crazy buying the cricket bat that his brand is, even though, like, let's assume that the product are shabby, not of high quality, but people are going to go crazy because the credibility, right? So he can live with this personal branding that he has done. But if you know that maybe people won't come for my name, but I have a great product, my point is, why unnecessarily put your name into it? No one knows who started my Nike I mean, if you can Google it about it and you read about it, but no one remembers it, right? Apple is different. Steve Jobs is different. People love Steve Jobs for his ideas, for his philosophy, for his way of thinking, knowing and developing a product. But you don't buy Apple because of Steve Jobs. You buy Apple for the products and services, right?
So there are two different branding associated with two
So
different.
anyone who's listening to this podcast thinking that, oh, I need to come up with a brand right now, I would tell them to ask yourself who you are first, what do you want to be? And if you are a product driven brand, if you have products, do you want to sell it on your name or you want to sell it on the quality of the product? That will determine the branding that you need to do.
See, I'm starting out as a brand and I'm a very small scale brand. I don't have enough capital to, hire a proper ad agency.
Correct.
So what do I do then to get my brand's message out there?
Very interesting question. See, I believe nowadays with the advent of internet, with the advent of so much of content creation that we see around, if you are starting out, you don't need to go to a big agency with a big I mean, you can always do that. That's an option that you can always exercise. The point is, there are a lot of businesses which start with a huge amount of capital and they can afford a marketing budget, which includes your campaigns, which includes your brand building and everything. Then there are startups, there are boutique startups, there are small scale businesses which are also starting out pretty well. And obviously they are starting on a shoestring budget, right? Ideally what they do is they create content, they create marketing themselves, like in between, like in-house. They don't hire an agency and all. In that space, like if your question is like if you're a small brand and how do you start? I mean, you can start by putting out regular content about your product, about your service, what your brand is all about. You don't need a very affluent setup to do that. I can give you a lot of examples from Kolkata itself. There is a beautiful brand called 145 East. It's a clothing brand where they have done some amazing styling with gamcha. Okay, they have gamcha shirts, they have gamcha trousers and whatnot. It's a brand based out in Calcutta. If you look at their content, everything is in-house. They don't have an agency working for them. They shoot their own videos, just how friends do. Right? They click their own photographs, they create content and they create amazing content. Whatever they do it themselves, using a camera, using a phone, knowing a little bit of editing, and they put out, I think most of their money goes into media. Like once they create content, they put it on social media, they put it on YouTube and other platforms and they push. So that's the way to go about it. Another clothing brand, which is an example to put, there was like, I think 2 years or 1.5 years ago, there was a brand, another clothing brand. I exactly don't remember the name correctly, but it was something Indian Ethnic Co or something like that. It was a brand by two sisters. They realized they have a boutique and they have realized that what they sell is sarees and kurtis and the other garments, right? They started making dance reel, Bollywood covers, Bharatnatyam, and they were doing it great. It's not something that you see run of the mill, but something which is like great to watch. And while dancing, they were wearing all those collections, right? And that became their go-to market strategy. Like people were following them like crazy. They have crazy followers now. People were following them not because of the great product they were wearing, but also because the way they were representing the brand, they were representing the entire content. And if you just watch the video, I think it's widely available on their channels and as well as on YouTube as well. A lot of magazines, a lot of media publishing houses have covered them, interviewed them for their unique approach to marketing. You'll see from a investment standpoint, like you were mentioning, right? What if what do I do when I don't have capital? They also didn't have, I assume. All they had was a tripod, a mobile phone to record them dancing, and that's it. So the power of idea, the power of creativity in a business is beautifully explained here, in my opinion. Uh, Sari business or boutique business is so common, especially in Calcutta. Like every street, I think, has one boutique. Product are so like common, like it's very hard to differentiate because it's widely popular, right? It's not something new. But they found a brilliant way of marketing the product, and that worked really well for the brand. So my advice to anyone who's listening and who's trying to find a fit in the market and trying to get a huge launch, I would say think of a great idea rather than a big budget. That would work really well, and it has worked for these brands that I named. So it has, if it has worked for them, it will definitely work for you as well.
Coming down to content creation and especially reels, nowadays, whenever you're going in Instagram
Yeah.
or any other platform, you just see people dancing all the
Absolutely.
time.
It's
All
a-
the time. Like I have no complaints with people dancing or dancers who pursue their career in dancing. But if you notice, most of them are non-dancers.
Correct.
It's the same
Yeah.
moves, it's the same song that is playing repeatedly and which goes viral and gets them view. What is your take on these content creators and how can we evolve to make more meaningful content, especially in the reel segment?
Okay, it's a brilliant question, and it's a huge question to answer. There are a lot of factors involved into it. I'll try to do justice to the answer. First of all, I think we are getting content creation really wrong. I totally agree to your point that you mentioned that whenever we open reels, mostly 80% of it that we see is basically people dancing. There's nothing wrong dancing on platforms like this. I think TikTok is majorly built on people dancing on TikTok, right? They build the product accordingly. They have created features which enables you to dance even better, like duet and all those effects and stuff like that. So they know that people are dancing and people are going to dance. The problem with this is that imagine it your way. Like if you are eating biryani every day, even if it's from 10 different restaurants, there will be a time you'll be getting bored.
And that'll occur very soon.
I think it has already happened. Like the moment I see someone dancing, I simply scroll up without even watching who is it. Why people are dancing so much on reels is the fact that people who are dancing on the reel, they have realized that if I dance just like the other girl that I follow, she got famous, so I'll also get famous. Rather than putting their own touch, rather than putting their own creativity out, it's just like I am just going to do what she has done or what he has done well. And it has worked really well for them, so it will work for me as well. It doesn't work like that. Reel is a format. How you use it is up to you. You want to dance, definitely dance your heart out. But then don't expect to be a follower or like an influencer or a celebrity on social media overnight just because you are dancing on a track. It needs to do something for the audience who's watching you. It needs to be entertaining, first of all. If I'm investing, even like we live in a time when the attention span is, I think, I don't know like how much is the attention span of Gen Zs and
It has
millennials,
reduced
right?
a lot.
Goldfish attention, right? Even in this era, if you are seeking someone's attention for even 2 seconds, you'd better do justice to it. If you do it well, people are going to love you, people are going to follow you, people are going to be a fan of yours content. If you don't do it well, you are just going to be another dancer on the reel. And then you will start hating and you will start complaining, I don't think social content creation works for me. I don't think it's a sustainable business. No, because you are doing it wrong. That's why.
And also, initially, if you get a lot of views, also in long term, it's not going to cause any major changes or influence.
Yes. I have seen a lot of like for example, the example that I was quoting just before this question, Indian ethnic co or something like that. They also started dancing, but they had a very unique take to it. They were not just dancing on Bollywood songs. They were also showcasing product. It's a product demonstration through dance. Now that's a unique concept for me.
Right.
Women who were watching the reels, they were not just watching few pretty lady dancing. They were also watching the collection, right? So that's one way of looking at it. My take to this is that content creation is a huge topic. There are so many things that you can do with content creation. People have started speaking out on podcast. That has become a content creation venue, right? Skits, spoofs. We have seen so many huge social media celebrities who made a fortune, who made a career out of making spoofs, making funny videos, making pranks, sharing social or funny commentary on any events. Like we have, I don't need to name, but there are so many content creators who just take what is happening in the city or happening currently in the country, and they just provide a funny commentary on top of it. And that becomes an amazing content. That's how you understand what works really well for your audience, what you can do better. Like you know it yourself that are you a great dancer or you are a great speaker. That's up to you. What is your genre or what is your creativity, right? What is the expression that you want to put out, right?
So, do you think that everything is working because of the algorithm? People are taking the easy way out. If this is going viral, say if people are dancing and there are a lot of views, other people also follow the crowd mentality and, they start dancing.
Yes.
So, is the algorithm determining what we are putting out in the net?
See, algorithm is basically not meant for content creation, but it is meant for content viewing. For example, I'll give you a beautiful example. If you are watching 10 reels on dancing, the algorithm will show you 15 more. Because you're watching dance reel. If you are watching cooking reels, algorithm will suggest you more similar kind of videos. That's how algorithm works. But it doesn't determine what you create, right? Algorithm has to do with you as a viewer. When I'm watching a content and algorithm tries to understand what is this guy liking here? What should I serve him more so that he stays on my platform? Because algorithm is not, understand this fact that algorithm is not made to benefit you. Algorithm is made to benefit the platform. So that more runtime is something that you give to the platform. You are spending more time on the platform. More time means more advertising, more content you watch, more habit you build, more business it generates, right? That's how algorithm works. You as a content creator need to understand what will really work as content, something new that I'm putting out. I mean, that's more or less. It doesn't need to be a rocket science, or it doesn't need to be a topic which is absolutely out of the world. It can be as simple as something which is already there. Like I can give you an example. There is Fresh Feeds or a channel on Instagram, Fresh Feeds or something. There's a beautiful couple. She does basically, she cooks food. She has a beautiful way of cooking food and it's a very aesthetically done. Now there are so many videos, there are so many content on cookery and so many content on making things, right? Making food. She has found a beautiful idea to it. What she does, she starts the video by asking her husband, "Hey Sunny, ki khabi?" which basically translates to, "Hey Sunny, what would you want to have?" And that's when the husband, tells her about, "I want to have that." And then she cuts and she goes into the kitchen and she cooks. That's her idea. And the way she has aesthetically designed the entire video and how she interacts and the voiceover and everything makes the content really amazing and fresh, although she's doing the same thing.
So what you're trying to tell is no matter what you choose, whether it be dance, whether it be cooking, whether it be any other activity that you choose, just put your own touch, just think about it a bit more, and so it becomes more personalized to you. That is what is going to catch up with other people.
Absolutely true. Another question that they also need to understand and answer themselves, why someone should follow me? What is it that I'm giving them? Am I making them laugh every day for 5 minutes? If that's the case, then that's my space to be in. Am I giving them cookery tips? Am I just giving them a therapy to eye? I'm sure a lot of people are watching this video. I mean, if you just open your mobile phones and you just check how many people you follow, you will find there's a reason why you follow them. Maybe the style, the way they create
present it,
content,
yeah.
maybe the idea that they put out, maybe there is some likiness that you have found in them. There's a reason for them to follow. Now you need to find that reason. Everyone, like even the cringe content, like there's a term called cringe content makers, right? There are a lot of, I don't want to name them, but there is something about the cringe content as well. There is some bit of likiness that you have found in their content. Hence you follow them. Hence you keep on talking about them. Even if you don't like, or you pretend that, oh, I hate this content, but why are you talking about him then?
So as you're a copywriter, we know that nowadays people are using AI to write different contents, whether it be scripts, whether it be posts, anything. So as a copywriter, do you take the help of AI?
I mean, yes, AI is a tool. It's not a replacement. Let me put it this way. There's a lot of debate happening on the internet that is AI going to replace you from your job. I belong to the team who doesn't believe in this idea. I believe AI is going to make you better. And it has definitely made me better.
And how?
I'll tell you. Let's first understand what is AI. AI is artificial intelligence. It's like a tool that helps you save time and effort. Before Google, people were still sourcing knowledge.
Right.
People were still going to libraries, digging up records, doing all the hard work to find an answer.
Right.
Finding an answer was not something that was only discovered after the advent of Google, right? Google made it effortless.
Right.
Google made it fast, right? Search engine made it fast. AI is just doing the same. In my case, like for example, the research that I need to do before I sit down to write a line or think of an idea or write a copy. Maybe before the AI, I used to take 2 hours to read about the brand, 2 hours to understand the target audience, 2 hours to understand the tonality, find examples which have done well, what other competitors are like doing or what they have done in the past, which I should be aware of. Now, all these things can be found in 5 minutes through a great prompt written on an AI platform. Now, after I've written the line, after I've cracked the idea, I also need to check whether it's appropriate or not. Whether this has been done before, whether the grammar of the line is correct or not. That's where AI can come into play. Suppose I have written a line, which is something that I genuinely like, and I feel that this is a very strong line. But I also want to have 10 more options. And I don't have that much of time. I don't have the liberty of time to think of 10 more options. Maybe I put the line that I have written and ask the AI to understand the tonality and understand the idea, the essence of the line, and create 10 more lines for me so that I can choose the best version for myself. Now, this entire process was there before AI also. Now, with the AI, this has come to a point where you can do all of it in just few minutes.
But 2 questions out here.
Yeah.
So previously, say you had to research about a particular brand and everything related to other brands, competitors to that brand. So while researching, you also had an opportunity to dive into different aspects, because generally when you're researching this, you would also knowingly or unknowingly get to know about more things.
Correct.
That process is being reduced, right? And second is, if you are using ChatGPT or any other AI software, anybody else can also do that.
True.
So a junior just starting off, how does it differentiate basically?
I mean, see, again, it comes down to the fact that how are you using the AI? Are you blindly putting faith in AI and just copy pasting whatever it has churned out for you? You are just copy pasting it and producing work? Then it'll trouble you a lot. Use it like a tool for a photographer. The subject composition is something that the photographer creates. The lighting and everything, the composition, everything is something that he creates. But after the photograph is taken, the tool, for example, Photoshop or Lightroom, is used to enhance it. After enhancing, the decision lies with the photographer to know whether this is appropriate or you want to do something more to it as well. Same applies here also. When you as a copywriter are using your AI tools for research, for writing it better, for crafting the line better, or finding 10 more options of the same line or same thought, after that, the tool is still with you. It's serving you. Now you have a choice of copy pasting just what the AI tool has produced. You have the option of making it better, understanding, getting deeper into it, if time allows you to do so. Mostly what happens is that in an agency, in a real life scenario, we are always challenged with time.
Right.
And with the advent of AI, if there is any aspect where AI is actually helping us, is the time. Like I said, the job that I used to do taking 2 hours, now with AI, I can do it in 5 minutes.
True.
Which makes me more efficient, which allows me to do more job, finish more job in time than what I was capable before.
Right.
That increases my value as a copywriter. Right? For example, if you were to hire me versus you were to hire someone else is a brilliant copywriter, so am I. But the other guy takes 2 days to come up with a brilliant idea that suffices your needs. And I do the same thing in half an hour. Plus, I assure you that I'll do 10 more projects for you in that same period of time. Who would you hire?
I would obviously hire you.
That's how AI is helping you out.
True. So we have been speaking a lot about ideas and content creation. So the main backbone for all this is creativity, right? So what is creativity according to you?
It's a very, 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 very interesting question. And I don't think there is a perfect answer to it, but I can definitely tell you how I see it. Creativity is just an expression of a solution. When you encounter a problem or when you encounter a stoppage or a hindrance, you try to think of a solution. That's creativity. Usually what people misunderstand is that painting, singing, filmmaking, poetry is considered creativity. Yes, these are types of creative expression, but these are not just the creative expressions. There are so many other creative expressions also. The great Indian jugaad, right? How people find jugaad to a solution is a great example of creative ideas, right? They find very lateral ideas and, ways of tackling the problem and finding a solution which is very unexpected. That is creativity. It need not be a creative canvas where you're writing poetries or shairis or making films. That is one way of creativity, but that's not all of it, right? For me, creativity is finding solution. Even in advertising or even in films, say in advertising, when you are thrown a challenge from a brand point of view, you find resort in creative ideas because creative ideas brings you solution. If the problem has a better solution than creativity, you would definitely take it. Right? I'll give you an example. You want to book a cab instantly and reach a point. Now, someone has thought about it. Someone has engineered a app. Someone has engineered a full supply chain. Someone has made thousands of taxis available at your fingertip, right? All of these is linked to a creativity. Someone has created this solution for you.
True, which was not there previously.
Absolutely. You wanted to order something and you just tapped on your app and that all those things arrived at your doorstep in just 10 minutes. How that became possible is a byproduct of creativity, right? So engineered in a way that it happens. Now, when you say that message, when you introduce this product or introduce this app to the world, you take creative expression of a film, you take the creative expression of a song, a jingle, a branding, whatever. That's your way of doing it. But without the creative idea of making the app, none of this makes sense.
So someone starting out and, trying to get into a creative career, how does one cultivate creativity initially so that they can go ahead and be very creative in whatever they do?
I think it's a question which we should definitely cultivate. If someone wants to start a creative career, the first thing they need to answer themselves is what they want to do in the creative industries. Like I mentioned, there are so many creative avenues they want to get into. Do you want to be a creative technologist who creates beautiful solutions at a tech level? Great. You study engineering, become whatever you want, build apps that actually solves a problem. You want to be a writer, write stuff that wows people, become a copywriter, become a writer in general. You want to make films, you want to be a visual artist, you want to express, you want to talk through your visual ideas, through your vision, become a director. You want to just art, right? You want to create art, you want to create designs, colors is something that you want to speak through, become an artist. These are all creative venues. First thing that you need to understand is what am I good at and what do I want to do? Now I'm not a filmmaker yet. I can't talk in depth about what does it take to become a filmmaker. I can surely talk about what does it take to become a copywriter. To answer your question, it's very simple. First thing that you need to know is the understanding of insights. You need to be very observant about the things that are happening around you. Observation leads you to great insights, and great insights lead you to ideas, right? You have to be absolutely observant. You have to have a great taste. The same thing that we were discussing a few minutes ago.
Can a taste be cultivated?
Absolutely, yeah. Taste is something that you develop. It's not something that you get by birth. I'm not talking about the food taste again, just to clarify. Creative taste is something that you develop. You start listening to one kind of songs and then you start developing a taste for certain music, right? Similarly, you start reading few authors, few novels, few stories, and then you start a taste for certain kind of storytelling. Same happens in all the creative formats.
Is it also not binding yourself? Say I love a particular kind of a music. Rather than just listening to that, I explore more.
Absolutely.
Explore more books, explore more music, explore more art. That also develops your taste.
Absolutely. It's very important to have an open mind, an open view of the world. You shouldn't limit yourself to one particular genre, one particular taste. You can have multiple of it. You can make films which are very different in taste, and then you can also delve into another genre of music, another genre of film as well. Like for example, maybe dark humor is your taste of expressing thoughts, but that doesn't stop you to experiment with romance, right? Maybe you are a fond of thriller stories. You like reading thriller stories, but that doesn't stop you from exploring how novels are written, right? How novels are written and how you can enjoy philosophy.
And maybe blending both.
Absolutely. That's how great things happen. No, so like there's a theory. I would like thankfully that I'm like you pointed this out, blending together like two things. Take any good idea. If you see it under a light, you'll see two different things coming together.
And you're a master at it.
I think I'm learning, but any idea you take, like any advertising like idea that wows you, or any song that you recently sing like listening to, any movie, you'll see why you love it, because there are two different things coming together and making it a new thing. That's how it works.
So once you're a creative person and you have already worked for a couple of years and you are established as an artist, what are your creative responsibilities?
Oh yeah, that's the question which is like a need of the hour. I think it's a beautiful question that you asked. I mean, I would settle for this famous dialogue from this Marvel movie, Spider-Man, which says, "With great power comes great responsibility." Creativity is almost similar to that. With great creative talent comes great responsibility. You need to be responsible for what creative ideas you are putting out. As a content creator, like you'll see a lot of content creators are creating content which actually sometimes lead to harm. For example, I'll just give you a basic example. Stunt videos. You may be a parkour artist. that's your skill. You like jumping from one roof to another roof. But when you are putting it out on the internet, you know thousands of your followers are going to see this video. It's your responsibility to send them a disclaimer. Tell them that please don't try this at home. Please don't follow what I'm doing, because I'm doing this out of after so many years of practice. Now someone can actually harm doing that, right? This is one way of being responsible. Other thing of being responsible, like people think that it's a freedom of speech. Absolutely, you have freedom of speech on social media, you have freedom of speech with content creation, but you also need to understand that when you are putting out content, you are not just doing it for yourself. You are putting the content out in the world. People are going to react. People like, just like how you have freedom of speech, people also have freedom of expression. They might express hatred for you. They might express disgust for you. Do you have it in you to digest that? That's where the main problem happens. Difference happen. My point is, when you are putting out content, when you are doing content creation, you need to be absolutely sure what you are doing. The content that you are doing needs to feel true to yourself, and it needs to be backed by some sort of credibility. It can't be just, oh, I go on a camera and just abuse someone, create a video about some opinion, like share my opinion without any background checking, without any researching. It will backfire.
Which is very common nowadays.
And it will lead to a lot of destruction for you and your followers as well, right? I also want to talk about this fact that especially female content creators, I mean, when they create content, I mean, we live in a society which is not the ideal way of civilized society, right? We know it all ourselves, like what is the time that we are going through. Be responsible for the kind of content that you are putting. You know your audience. Don't be surprised to find lewd comments in your comment and DMs, because some sort of responsibility is on you as well, because you need to understand where you stay, and it's not just about a country. I'm not talking about just India or Indian people and their mentality of, but it's as public as a television, right? Social media was personal at a point when it started. It was a personal thing, right? Nowadays, it's no more personal.
Right.
It's as public as a television. It's true. As public as a outdoor.
In fact, more.
Yeah. I mean, like whatever you put, like a lot of celebrities put one tweet and that gets covered in the primetime news channel. Social media is personal. It was supposed to be personal. How come it ended up being a primetime news? Now this makes you realize that, oh, what am I putting is something that I need to be absolutely responsible for.
It's a very fine line that you'll have to understand, or disasters may fall upon you or others.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like most of the content that we see, people just go on creating content, doing stunts, dancing without knowing how the content is getting perceived. I don't mean to hurt any sentiment, but people are like, I see a lot of people creating thirst trap on social media just to get followers. I mean, that's not the way to go about it. If you're doing that, then you have to be absolutely cognizant about this fact that I am doing this on a public forum. It's no more a private thing. Now you can't expect people to react in the most idealistic manner.
So any creative field that you take into account, say acting, singing, or creative writing, or writing for movies, any creative field, it is very glamorized. And a lot of young people get into it thinking that, it's very glamorous. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of fame to be made. Is this the reality? And, why I'm asking you this question is, through you, a lot of young people would actually get to know the reality. It's not all about the glamour.
Yeah.
It's not about the fame and money. So could you just elaborate on this point for our audience?
Sure. I can't speak for the film industry, for the music industry, or other creative avenues. I can definitely speak about the advertising industry. Yes, sometimes advertising, like not sometimes, but advertising industry has been over glamorized quite a bit. More often than not, we are always seen as like an industry which is very closer to film industry. To an extent, it's true, but not fully, right? Advertising industry is a corporate industry, is as corporate as an IT industry or as corporate as a marketing industry. We deal with films, we deal with creative ideas, we deal with creative talent. There is glamour to an extent, there is money to an extent, but like all of these things are aligned to the idea or aligned to the business objective, right? It's done for a purpose, it's not without a purpose. The reality is, there is, like, it might seem like a fairyland where people are getting into the advertising industry, cracking some amazing lines, taglines, writing some amazing scripts, becoming famous overnight, minting money, traveling the world. That doesn't happen so easily. It will eventually, it will happen to you once.
May happen, may not happen.
Of course. And these things also happen to other industries also, right? But don't assume that that's your life being a copywriter. People in the creative industry work really hard. And let me put it this way. It might seem very amazing to hear, to see that you are being a creative guy, you get to be creative and get to be imaginative every day at your work. It's not easy. It's not a mood. Other people can have a mood. I'm having a creative mood today, so I'll write a poetry. Great for you. If I ask you to do that 5 days a week, 8 hours without taking a break, and I put a timeline on your head, you'll stop being creative. You'll start hating creative ideas. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of hard work behind patience, hard work, effort, whatever you call it. It takes a lot of other things to be creative. It's not easy to be creative every day. It's not a job that you can just sign in, spend some time, sign off, and come back home. You will have creative responsibility. You will have bosses on top of you who will be demanding good work every single time. And it gets better and better. Like once you have something great, like once you make a great idea come alive, your expectations are going to only go higher.
It's like getting to bat and scoring a century every match.
Every day. Like people are like how we expect Kohli to outperform every match, right?
Yeah.
And when he doesn't, we get disappointed, right? Same works for creative industry also. Like you need to be creative. Like I find it very challenging when briefs come to us, and with this thing, I'm reaching out to a creative team. They will figure it out. And when the solution doesn't meet their expectation, they get disappointed that I was expecting something better from the creative team, but this is not up to the mark. So it's challenging. It's challenging to actually be creative every day. So anyone who's listening to this podcast, anyone who's watching this video, I would want to say this out loud and very clear that please set your expectations very right. This field is as challenging as any other field. Plus, this field is very subjective.
And very demanding also.
Subjectivity is something that is very difficult to tackle. Your client, your creative director may just come to you and say that I don't like the red. I don't like the shade of red. This red is too much red and this red is too less red. How do you deal with that? You are not a coder. Like I think working in the tech, working in the IT or other areas, you have right and wrong. You have black and white. Either it's tech mate or it's not made, whether the code is working or not working. There's nothing in between, right? Either it's black or it's white. Creative industry is such an industry where there is a black, there is a white, there's a gray. I mean, it's very difficult to understand what the client is seeking. Maybe you have worked really hard on a film. For example, you have spent significant amount of efforts, you have spent significant amount of money, hours, thinking, crafting, making it better, producing the film and everything. And then you go and present it to the client who paid for everything that you have done. And after watching this film and he says, I didn't like the film, what do you do? Now, then he goes on listing out 10 different problems that he saw in the film, which didn't work according to him. Now, what may not have worked for him doesn't mean that it's a bad film. I can't assume that any film made by Satyajit Ray is liked by every human being on the planet. People might not like him as I do or you do or anyone else, anyone from the fan club does, right? It's a subjective world. Everyone has a choice of opinion. Everyone has a way of thinking. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with subjectivity is a challenging task. There is no science. No one has perfected it. It just comes from experience, comes from power, comes from knowledge of the client. And there are no ways to remove subjectivity from this creativity, Just that you need to be very cautious about what you are creating. I feel like, just to put in terms, I think in creative industry, pre-production is very important than post.
Getting back to your field, once starting out as a copywriter, how much money can one expect, when they're just starting off in the industry?
It depends from skill. Then it depends on based on cities that you are living in, companies also. But I'll give you a ballpark figure. I'll give you an average how it stands out. So if you are a copywriter who's just starting as a fresher in an agency or in a brand also, in a company, in an in-house team, majorly it pays somewhere around, you can expect your first salary to be somewhere around from 3 lakhs per annum to 4.5 lakhs per annum. Considering that you have no experience, considering that you have a great portfolio, considering that you have great skills. Now, what is the limit? There is no limit. You can be as wealthy of a writer as a filmmaker or as Shah Rukh Khan maybe. There is no limit to it. You can go up to a level where you can build your own brand, build your own agency, charge a premium price.
So say someone has spent, a lot of time, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they've developed, honed their skills really well. So how much money can one expect after maybe 4, 5 years and doing good?
Putting so many conditions that person has spent significant amount of time in the industry, which means he has significant amount of experience.
Yeah.
Then he, like you mentioned, he has good work, which means that he has a good portfolio of work. So I think in that area, someone can easily earn somewhere around from 10 to 30 lakhs per annum.
So it's very subjective and depends on the person.
It's subjective. It's a skill-based job anyway, right? In my life, I was fortunate to get double promotion twice. The age I'm in and the position that I'm holding in the company, it's something which is given to a person who has at least 15 to 20 years of experience. But I have gotten that gotten that position in just 8 years of experience. It is only because of the portfolio or the nature of work that I've done. Based on that, I can charge, I can negotiate on that price that someone of 20 years of experience can get, So it's a very skill-based thing. I know people who are even younger than me who are getting more than me because their skills are brilliant. Their skills are doing great. I mean, they're charging a bomb based on their skills. They have great contacts. They are more valued in the company. And I believe in the creative industry, if you are genuinely creative, there will be people willing to pay you a premium money.
Is there any piece of advice that you would want to give to a budding copywriter?
I think it's very important to form a disciplined lifestyle. Lifestyle as in, I don't mean like waking up at night or waking up early in the morning. Lifestyle as in the lifestyle of creativity. It's very important to be disciplined creative. Like you should practice, just like Riyaj, right? It's very important for you to, cultivate your singing talent, cultivate your power of voice. Similarly, in the case of creativity, it is very important for you to practice the method of coming up with ideas, or the habit of coming up with ideas, even if it's not an advertising idea. It's very important. So if anyone who's willing to start a career in creativity or as a copywriter, they must understand the fact that you need to be creative every day. So better start now. And be very disciplined about it. Be very honest about it. Be very disciplined about it. Another thing is that you shouldn't be very egoistic about your ideas. What happens is that we have this tendency that whatever best we do, whether we create a recipe, whether we dress our best way, or whether we write a poetry, we fall in love with our work so much that we ignore feedback. That shouldn't be the case. You should be absolutely brutal about your work after you have done it in a constructive way. You should allow criticism in a constructive way to make the work better, not to, make the work, worse, but to make it better. So that's something that we need to, someone needs to understand. And I would recommend that don't be misguided by the fact that, I'm here to make money. If you start, obviously creativity or the business of creativity is going to make you money eventually, or after a point, sometimes sooner also. But don't start with the expectation that I'm going to be a copywriter on day one and day two, I'm going to be a millionaire. No, it doesn't happen that way. And you should be absolutely hungry about ideas, about insights. You should have an open mind. Find enough sources of inspiration in your life so that there are enough ways you can take ideas from. The point is, people, you might have heard about this writer's block, creative block. Why creative block happens? Because after a point you realize that your sources of getting inspiration, your source of getting idea is very limited now. The moment you start increasing new sources of getting ideas, there won't be any moment in your life where you'll feel that, I don't have any more ideas left. So yeah, these are the things that I would want anyone who's listening to this podcast, or anyone who's willing to get into the creative industry as a copywriter. If you have these things in yourself, then I think you are off to a good start.
Thank you so much, Sandipan, for coming down. And there are so many aspects that are still left to be spoken upon. I hope we get to see you very soon in a different episode.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much.